Hello everyone, and welcome to Noodle Journey, your destination for detailed and informative reviews of the instant noodle universe. And today we're doing another mega review. This is a quartet of ramen bowls that have been popping up in Dollar Tree stores all over the USA. We've got Thai Authentic Sriracha Shrimp Ramen, Thai Authentic Chicken Curry Ramen, Norita Roasted Pork Tonkotsu Ramen with Miso, and Norita Tempura Udon Shrimp Soy Sauce Noodle Soup. So first off, if you're a dollar store product hunter who happened upon my channel, welcome. I do in-depth reviews of instant noodle products, like these. Before I get into this mega review, if this kind of content appeals to you, please give this video a thumbs up and remember to subscribe because it really helps to keep this channel going. So one of the things I love about dollar stores is that you never know what's going to turn up. I found Wrap Snacks ramen a little while back and a couple of those were kind of okay, but they were interesting, right? So this time around, who knows? I thought that since you may find all four of these in the same place, like I found all these at Dollar Tree, I'm not sure if they're available in other dollar stores, I figured I should compile them all into one video. Yes, the packaging looks cheap, and I've never heard of either of these brands before, and spoiler, they're actually the same company. But this could be one of those surprisingly good things you never knew existed. So I'm going to conduct this review in the order that these have been released in. So I'll start with the first product that popped up in Dollar Tree last year, this Thai Authentic Sriracha Shrimp Ramen. So as always, I try to do a little research before I conduct any review. And there's not a whole lot of information out there about any of these varieties. Thai Authentic does have a website with 3 products listed. There's this noodle bowl, there's bottles of sweet chili sauce, and there's sriracha sauce. That's it. They don't even mention the chicken curry ramen that I'll be reviewing later in this video. Now, as far as authenticity is concerned, this does say that it's made in Thailand, and it's imported and distributed by a company in Kentucky. So it's possible that this is something that's been rebranded for export to America, but if that's the case, I have no idea what other branding this might appear as in other countries. If I ever learn that answer, I will pin it in the comments. And that has pretty much exhausted all of my usual pre-filming research for this review. And honestly, for the other 3 varieties too. So let's just get into the vital statistics of this bowl. The sodium in here is a somewhat medium 1400 milligrams, which is not bad for instant noodles, even though it may seem high compared to other products. All right, peeling back the lid halfway, you can see we've got a block of fairly generic looking noodles. We've got a liquid sriracha sauce packet and a powdered seasoning packet. Now in the seasoning packet, the ingredients say that there's a bunch of spices, including onion, chili pepper, and paprika, some actual dried shrimp pieces, and green onion. And then the sriracha sauce, if you live under a rock and have never had it before, is basically a spicy chili sauce with some garlic, sugar, and vinegar. It doesn't appear to be the famous Hoi Fong sriracha sauce, which has gone down the shitter in recent years due to their own incompetence and mismanagement, but that's a whole other video. So this appears to be just a generic sriracha recipe. So no surprises in the ingredients. I'm going to add the seasoning to the noodles and we'll cook this up. All right, smells mainly of chili powder, not much else. You can see the paprika coloring is in here. And yeah, there's a few dried shrimp in there. All right, so we're gonna add boiling water up to the fill line. This is gonna steep for 3 minutes with the lid closed, and then I'm gonna come back and put in the sriracha sauce. Oh yeah, and since I just wasted like 3 minutes standing in my kitchen like a goon looking for it, here is the fill line on the outside of the package, if you happen to buy this and can't find it. Now I'll be right back. All right, here's what it looks like after the steeping is done, and I'm gonna give it a stir to make sure that the broth powder is all dissolved. And also in the interest of fairness, maybe if you don't wanna use the entire packet of sriracha or none at all, I'll give the broth a taste without it to see what kind of basic flavors we're dealing with here. All right, that looks good. A few tiny pieces of rehydrated shrimp. Everything else looks to be green onion. The noodles are kind of bleached white, not really clinging to the broth at all. Not a great sign for the noodles, but we'll see. Let's try this broth first. So it's got kind of a powdered vinegar zing to it. It's a little spicy, mostly salt and vinegar, some very subtle onion and chili pepper, not much. Let's see what the Sriracha does for it. Smells good, really peppery. All right, stir this up. All right, good enough. As you can see, the broth is still pretty much on the watery side. The Sriracha doesn't really thicken it up much. Hopefully it adds some good flavor. Let's give it a try. All right, noodle score first. They're a little cheap feeling. They have a slightly brittle texture. They're not much better than you get in like really cheap supermarket ramen. And they have a problem where the broth isn't really clinging to them very well, which I noticed in the beginning. So yeah, about what you expect from a $1.25 bowl of ramen. I'm gonna give them a 4 out of 10. They're perfectly edible, but not great. All right, so let's talk about the spice level, both without and with the Sriracha packet added in. When I first tasted it, there was still some chili pepper spice to it, so not completely mild, in the neighborhood of a 2.5 out of 10 on my spice scale. Adding the Sriracha in does give it a little more of a spicy kick, but not overly so. If you enjoy a squirt of Sriracha in your noodles regularly, this is going to be about the same experience. So I'm going to call it a 3.5 out of 10 on the spice scale with the Sriracha added in. And now as far as the overall flavor, it's okay. Just like I tasted in the beginning, we've got a lot of vinegar and pepper flavor with some very mild onion flavor in the background. I'm not getting a lot of garlic flavor, and I'm also not getting a lot of shrimp flavor outside of the tiny little pieces of shrimp that are in here. So this isn't like a shrimp broth with some pepper added to it. This is just a basic salt, onion, chili broth with some pieces of shrimp added to it. So that's a little disappointing. I was hoping there'd be more shrimp flavor in this, kind of some sweetness to balance everything out. Not that it's completely imbalanced, but it veers very strongly in the salty, acidic direction. As far as these pieces of dehydrated shrimp, they're fine. They taste about the same as what you would get from a cup noodle or instant lunch. They're definitely on the small side. Again, what do you expect for $1.25? But you know, it's nice that they're in here. So credit to Thai Authentic for that. So yeah, for $1.25, this is all right. I'm not going to make too many complaints about the quality of the product given the price point. I think the flavor is nice enough to warrant a purchase for this particular one, assuming you like Sriracha sauce and can deal with the cheapness of the noodles. So I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10 as an overall score. I've definitely eaten worse things that cost more than this. Okay, so we are off to a pretty decent start here. Let's move on to the Norita Tonkotsu Ramen with Miso. Now, once again, I can find almost nothing about this brand online. They have a website on the side of the packaging that says noritausa.com, but it does not list this bowl or any other ramen products on it. This is also made in Thailand and distributed in the US by the same company in Kentucky as the Sriracha Shrimp Ramen. So I'm guessing it's probably the exact same manufacturing facility too, but they just packaged it up with a Norita logo instead of a Thai Authentic logo. It's also worth noting that this has had a package change recently. So this is the new version right here, and this is what the old one looks like. And yes, I did buy both, thinking that they may be different, but they're not. The ingredients, the manufacturing origin, the importing entity, they're all identical. The only main difference is that the new one says roasted pork tonkotsu ramen with miso, and the old one says tonkotsu ramen miso pork flavor. And the roasted pork font is slightly different. Speaking of fonts, doesn't it look like somebody designed this in an afternoon with absolutely no budget? Just saying. Not very appealing packaging. Anyway, if your Dollar Tree is clearing out old stock, you may see this version instead of this version, but it's the exact same product, I promise. Okay, the sodium count here is 1900 milligrams, which is 83% of your daily allowance. Let's open this up. All right, and once again, we've got a round noodle block. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess they're probably the same noodles that we just got in the Thai Authentic Sriracha Shrimp Ramen, but we'll see. We've got a powdered soup base and a separate chili packet to make this spicy if you want to. And don't worry, I will taste this without the spicy chili oil first. As far as ingredients, this soup is artificially pork flavored, and in addition to artificial pork flavoring, it also contains salt, sugar, MSG, miso powder, a dairy-based creamer with milk in it, and a bunch of other spices, some of which make me wonder if this is really going to taste like tonkotsu. Like, this has coriander and cinnamon in it. Yeah. The chili oil is a sesame oil base with some chili pepper extract. The pack also listed green onion and fried garlic flakes, which must be here in the powder packet because I don't see them in the bowl. So this is vegetarian, but it is not vegan because of the milk powder in the creamer. All right, so let's add the seasoning packet to get this cooked. All right, that does smell reasonably close to a powdered pork tonkotsu broth. I did get a whiff of some oddball spices in there. I don't know how it's actually going to come together, but we'll see. And as a reminder, when you steep this, as I learned from the first bowl, the fill line is on the outside of the cup. So make sure you fill it up to here when you add your boiling water. I'll be right back. All right, here it is. As you can see, I have not added the chili oil yet. We're going to give this a quick stir. And if I'm being perfectly honest, it does smell kind of like tonkotsu. It's got a porky garlic onion smell. The consistency looks really nice, thanks to that creamer, I'd imagine. And there's a fairly decent amount of green onions in here. And a couple of garlic pieces. There's a little one. A couple of little fried garlic pieces that are floating around in here. So not bad at all as far as the aroma and presentation for something that came out of a Dollar Tree. So let me give this broth a quick taste, and then I'm going to add the chili oil. Okay, so I'm a little surprised to say this, but it is ever so slightly tangy without the chili oil in it. I think it's black pepper, it might be white pepper for presentation. It definitely has a little, very tiny bit of heat to it. Let's see what happens when I add the chili oil. Yep, it's got a very nutty aroma to it. Okay, I just had a little lick of this oil off my finger. It does have quite a zip to it. Thankfully, you can control how much goes in here. You don't have to empty the whole packet, but I will let you know how spicy this is with the entire packet added. Okay. Gotta say, the presentation on this is still pretty nice. This added a nice oily layer to the top of the broth, which I can appreciate. Let's give it a taste. Okay. This is quite a surprise, except for the noodles. The noodles are not a surprise. They're the same cheap noodles that were in the last one. I'm going to assume these are the same cheap noodles that are going to show up in the chicken curry ramen. So yeah, once again, 4 out of 10 for the noodle score. The noodles just aren't that good. Spiciness. Without the chili oil, like I said, it has some kind of a zip of black or white pepper. It is a little tangy, a very slight tang to it. So 1 out of 10 without the chili oil for the spiciness. With the chili oil added, this brings it up closer to something like Nongshim Shin Black, kind of a slightly medium heat. And since it is very oily, that oil is going to end up on your lips and you're going to feel a little bit of a tingle when you slurp these noodles. So I think I'm going to call the entire chili packet going into this broth a 4.5 out of 10 on the spiciness scale. It's more heat than I expected from something like this. And so here's the really surprising part. The overall flavor. This is actually very good. Like, I'm not kidding. This is so much better than it has any right to be. The artificial pork flavor is pretty spot on. It doesn't have any overly artificial aftertaste. There's a really good amount of onion and garlic in the broth. The spices that I was afraid of, like cinnamon and coriander, aren't really being singled out by my taste buds. They kind of just blend into all the rest of this and create a really nice, savory, salty bomb of flavor. This is unbelievably impressive for such a cheap product, especially given how amateur hour the packaging looks. What I'd also like to point out here is that the flavor that's added to this from the sesame chili oil is great. It adds an extra layer of nuttiness to this that I think really makes it shine. And the flavor of the broth is so good that I don't care that much that the noodles are kind of, you know, lower quality. The little bits of onion and garlic still have some texture to them, which is appreciated. All in all, I don't really have any complaints. It's better than it has any right to be. It's certainly better than some other tonkotsu I've tried on this channel before. Snapdragon, I'm talking about you specifically. And while it's not up there with super premium stuff like, you know, Ichiran or Marutai, it is nonetheless a very tasty and impressive product. So I can't believe I'm going to say this, but the overall score for this, minus the chili oil, is an 8 out of 10 for me. And with the chili oil, because of that extra layer of nuttiness the sesame brings out in this, it's an 8.5 out of 10 for me. Who knew? All right, let's move on to the next one. This is Thai Authentic Chicken Curry Ramen. And you know the drill by now. This is made in Thailand, distributed by the same company in Kentucky. And they really do love this font, don't they? As of the time of this filming, this one doesn't even get a mention on the Thai Authentic website, even though it's been out for several months at this point. Okay, and the sodium count for this one is 1,810 milligrams, or 79% of your daily allowance. Let's look inside. Once again, we've got a block of what I'm assuming are the same ramen noodles that we've seen in the last two varieties. And we've got a broth powder, which contains salt, sugar, MSG, dairy-based creamer, curry powder and other spices, artificial chicken flavor, chili powder, and coconut powder. This is probably going to be a little bit spicy. It does have a medium spice indicator on the top. Who knows what that actually translates to. And it is once again not vegan because of the dairy content. And there should also be green onion flakes inside this pouch. All right. Let's pour in the powder and we'll get this cooked. Smells like a pretty basic curry powder to me. Lots of cumin. Something a little on the sweeter side, probably cinnamon. All right, and I'll go steep this, and as a reminder, the fill line is on the side of the cup. Okay, here we go. And before I stir it all up, you can see it's already got kind of a chicken broth vibe going. And then these additional spices here are obviously going to take it to a slightly different place. You can see it's thickened up a little bit. That creamer is doing some work. The aroma is certainly that of a curry powder with some coconut milk. It does smell a little bit like a Thai yellow curry in soup form, which is a good thing because that's actually one of my favorites of the various Thai curries. Yeah, let's see how this tastes. All right, not bad at all. Starting with the noodles, the same kind of cheap noodles as came in the other two varieties. I called it. At this point, let's just accept that they are a vehicle for the broth and not much more. They're not going to win any awards, but they're fine. So 4 out of 10 for the noodle score. As far as spiciness goes, Yes, if you are completely averse to spicy food, you are going to find this spicy, but calling this a medium spice level, like they do on the packaging, is really not accurate for anybody who regularly eats spicy curry. I feel that at most this warrants a 2 out of 10 on my spiciness scale. And so overall flavor. So as I said a minute ago, it does smell like a Thai yellow curry, and that is kind of what it tastes like. This is predominantly cumin with some sweeter elements, coconut milk and cinnamon for sure. Probably some other stuff in the blend that I can't quite pick out. But if you've ever had that from a Thai takeout restaurant, this is basically the same thing, but with broth. It's not an overwhelmingly strong curry flavor. It's pretty mellow as far as curries go. And I'm not angry at it. I think it's tasty. I think if you're someone who's never had curry before and wants to throw $1.25 at this product to see if you like it, that's not a terrible idea. Once again, the rehydrated onions have a little bit of a crunch to them, which I appreciate. There's plenty of them. And yeah, while this is not pushing any kind of boundaries in the realms of curry flavor or noodle quality, I think this is a pleasant enough bowl of noodles. I would buy this again. I'm going to give them a 7 out of 10. Not bad at all. Okay, and finally, as of the time of this filming, this is the 4th and latest product from this Kentucky importer to appear in Dollar Tree. Once again with the Norita branding. This is Tempura Udon Shrimp Soy Sauce Noodle Soup. What's funny about this is that even though it has the Norita branding on the lid, the URL on the side of the packaging still lists the Thai Authentic USA.com website. Oops. Sodium in this is a pretty reasonable 1,200 milligrams, or 52% of your daily allowance. Again, not bad for instant noodles. All right, and inside we've got a block of these pretty thick-looking noodles that they're calling udon. And we've got a seasoning pack, which contains soy sauce, of course, along with sugar, MSG, textured tempura pea protein, dried carrots, dried shrimp, dried green onion, and bonito powder, which means a smoky fish flavor if you don't know what bonito is. So basically, this is an instant version of the udon soup that you might get at a Japanese restaurant, which is typically umami, sweet, salty, and fishy all together. Now before I cook this, just a warning. The lid says this is quick and easy. And easy is subjective, but quick this is not. This takes 10 to 12 minutes to steep in boiling water due to the thickness of these noodles. It is not remotely as convenient as the other varieties from a time perspective, so if you're making this for lunch and you have a very short lunch break, you should plan accordingly. As to whether or not you could cook these a different way, well, it doesn't say that the packaging is microwave safe, so to cover my ass, I'm not about to tell you to microwave this. You could probably throw these in boiling water on the stove top and have them done quicker, but I don't know how long that would be. We always follow the directions on this channel, so once I add the seasoning packet, I'm going to wait the full 11 minutes and see how everything cooks up. Okay, very strong shrimp smell out of that. Before I shake this up, you can see these little chunks of what must be the tempura pea protein. A few shrimp. Yeah, at this point, the dried ingredients in this bowl look a lot more substantial than they were in any of the other three, so that's a good sign. So I'm going to go cook these, and normally I say be right back, but this is going to take a short eternity to steep, so I'll see you then. Okay, and that took forever, but here we are. Let's give this a good stir. Make sure the broth powder is well dissolved. I didn't see it mentioned in the ingredients, but that's definitely seaweed, which is pretty cool. In fact, this whole thing kind of smells like shrimp and seaweed. The noodles are not quite in the realm of what you get from Myojo, which you might see in the supermarket, which are thicker than these in a retort pouch. They're kind of like fresh udon noodles. But all in all, there's a lot of stuff in here and it smells pretty good, so let's see how it tastes. Check out the size of that shrimp. It's way bigger than the ones that came in the Sriracha Shrimp Ramen. All right, I got a little bit of everything here. Let's start with the noodle score. And yeah, I actually like these udon noodles a lot more than I thought I would. Normally I'm a sucker for thick noodles anyway, but between the kind of middling quality of the ramen noodles that were in the other three varieties and the ridiculous steeping cooking instructions for these noodles, I didn't have high hopes. But these are actually pretty good. They're a little bouncy. They don't taste quite as cheap or cardboardy as the other ones. I'm pretty happy with them. They're not exactly up there with the other udon style varieties you might find in your stores like Neogori or any of the Myojo varieties that I was talking about earlier. But for what they are from a Dollar Tree, for $1.25, they're pretty good. So 7 out of 10 for the noodles here. The spiciness score here is a 0 out of 10. There is no spice in this whatsoever. You don't have to worry about any hidden chili pepper. Completely mild. And so let's talk about the flavor of this last bowl. For something that is supposed to be soy sauce flavored, there is precious little soy sauce flavor actually in this. The rest of the flavors are not bad, but for me, I feel like this is missing that salty umami soy sauce punch that I expect from something that says soy sauce on the label. The other flavors are pretty good though. Very strong shrimp and fish flavoring, slightly sweet from that and from the sugar that I can definitely taste in this broth. The seaweed has a decent flavor that it's imparted in here, and so have the carrots. So this comes across a little bit more of a veggie seafood broth than it does a straight up shoyu soy sauce broth. So I think the packaging is a little misleading in that regard. This is probably not quite what you expect it to be based on what the label says. As far as these tempura chunks are concerned, I don't think they're very good. They're kind of hollow inside. After 12 minutes of steeping, they've lost any sense of texture. It's kind of got the texture of like a soggy corn pop cereal, like eh. Again, going back to the label, if something says tempura on it, you expect it to have a tempura crunch, and this doesn't. What's here is pretty good, and the noodles are pretty good. Aside from the tempura puffs and the lack of soy umami, I like most of the rest of the stuff that's going on in here. The noodles are way better than expected. The other flavors are kind of making up for the lack of soy punch. And if it wasn't for that ridiculous 12-minute cooking time, I could see myself giving this a 7 out of 10, but I got to knock off a few points. I'm going to call this a 6.5 out of 10 as an overall score. And if the manufacturer could in any way improve upon the cooking process or the quality of these tempura bits, this would definitely be a higher score. So what have we learned today? Don't judge a book by its cover, which is to say don't judge the quality of these flavors based on the questionable package design choices. If you spot any of these in your local Dollar Tree, I think they're all worth trying based on which flavors appeal to you most, as long as you accept the fact that the 3 ramen types have kind of cheap feeling noodles. The Sriracha Shrimp Ramen is pretty good, if a little unremarkable in flavor. The Tonkotsu Ramen with miso is so much better than you would expect. The Curry Chicken Ramen plays it pretty safe with the spices and heat level, but is still pretty tasty. And the Tempura Udon Shrimp Soy Sauce Noodle Soup has pretty good noodles. It's just lacking a little bit of the soy sauce flavor and the tempura crunch that you might expect it to have. Also, watch out for the 10 to 12 minute cook time with this one. But yeah, I am pleasantly surprised by all of these. I really thought that with how crappy the packaging is on these, that they're going to be very mid at best. But trust me when I say that any one of these, as long as you keep your expectations in check, is worth trying at the current price of $1.25, with my personal favorite being the Tonkotsu by a wide margin. And at $1.25 each, that leaves you with some extra cash for toppings to add into these. So if you end up trying any of these Dollar Tree finds, please let me know in the comments what you think of them and which one is your favorite. I have a feeling with the way these have popped up over the last year that there will probably be more Thai Authentic and Norita products in the future. And if so, you can bet I'll buy them for review. That's all for now. Hope you enjoyed this mega review, and I'll see you next time on Noodle Journey.